Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me another day and a time for this new topic, which we are going to talk today. I'm glad and thanking for everyone who showed interest in this topic and who are watching us live from different parts of the world. I'm Adnan Sohail. I'm your host and moderator for this session. And the topic which we are going to talk is about fourth industrial revolution. 4IR, IR 4.0. There are different names which people call it. But what exactly this is, what is fourth industrial revolution, how we should prepare ourselves for this one, and what we should do so that we will not be left behind. This is what we are going to talk today. And my today's this guest, who is very, very special and distinguished guest with me, is Mr. I would like to give a quick introduction of my guest. With me is Mr. Azhar Zia-ur-Rehman. He is the member Presidential Committee on Emerging Technologies, Government of Pakistan, currently based in Pakistan, but sometimes he's in UAE and sometimes some other places where he's working on different projects. He's the author for first ever written book on technology governance, concepts and practices. If anyone be interested to read about this book, it's available on Amazon anytime you can get it. He has been advisor for K Electric in Pakistan. Currently, he's advisor for different companies on fourth industrial revolution. In the past, he's having such a vast and such a great experience working with UNDP as technical advisor as well as group director for Etisalat here in UAE and director research for DIFC, which is Dubai International Financial Center. I'm Adnan Sohail. I'm basically a learning and career advisor based in Dubai, and we run these webinars on different topics where guests come from the different part of the world on different topics they speak in order to enlighten you and to give you some insights on ongoing topics. Today, we face what may be I will say, the most significant and rapidly occurring set of changes in the world of humanity, or history of the humanity. We are seeing that a lot of changes are happening. Artificial intelligence is something which we are listening again and again. There is a lot more to talk about this topic, and I would first of all like to welcome Mr. Azhar Zia-ur-Rehman. Sir, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm honored and privileged. Can you hear me?
We will be having this session for next 60 minutes. So everyone who is watching us, you are more than welcome to raise your question. Mr. Azhar will be happy to answer all of your questions. So, sir, over to you. First, can you please tell us that what is this word fourth industrial revolution? And when it comes the fourth, it means that there are three different revolutions, industrial revolution, which in humanity or history, we have experienced that. So can you tell us a little bit what is fourth industrial revolution and what is its background?
Okay, thank you very much for a very valid question. Well, actually, when mankind started developing, there was a big change about 120, 140 years ago when the steam engine was invented. And with the steam engine came the first power other than the horse. So mankind had something to depend on other than the horse. So the steam engine was employed for transportation, for engineering, for machinery, for everything. And that was the first industrial revolution. Life of people changed a lot because of that. Then about 20 to 25 years later, in about 1905, 1910, 1900, the electricity was invented. And because of electricity, the industry changed a lot. Mass production came in, the cars were invented, the Ford Model T was manufactured. So that was around 1905. That was the second industrial revolution. Now, the first industrial revolution and the second industrial revolution combined to give mankind a very big boost. And that continued for the next about 50, 55 years, when in the 60s, electronics was invented in a big way. And electronics came in and changed mankind. Everything was beginning to be automated. smart machines came in, and that was the third industrial revolution. Now, because of electronics, the computers came in and software came in. And with software came a lot of new technologies which were not there before. Also, in parallel, came technologies which were related to biomedicine, biotechnologies, microengineering, and so on. So, these 15 or 20 technologies which developed uh, in the next 40, 50 years up to about the beginning of this century, uh, they were used by mankind in silos. Each of those technologies were used on their own until about 7 or 10 years ago, when people learned to combine these technologies and use them in synergy to bring about services which could not be offered before using either any of one of these technologies. And this is the fourth industrial revolution. So the fourth industrial revolution is not about technology, because technology was always there, was already there 20 years ago, but the revolution was not. The revolution is because of the synergetic use of all these technologies, using all these technologies together, helping each other. The very good example is of Careem and Uber. Careem and Uber use 7 or 8 or 9 different technologies which cannot give that service alone. But when they are combined, they can give this service which has done two things. On one hand, it has given business to hundreds and thousands of people in most areas, in a big variety of areas. People who own cars, people who want to use transport, insurance, banks, all of these got jobs. But on the other hand, thousands of people who were running the conventional taxis lost their jobs. So this is a very good characteristic a very typical characteristic of the fourth industrial revolution, that it is changing the nature of jobs. It is closing a lot of jobs and it is opening a lot of jobs. So this is the fourth industrial revolution. Yes. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Is it
Now it's
okay?
okay.
Can you
Yes.
hear me? Perfect. So I was saying that you gave us example of Careem and you gave us example of Uber and all these things which we have experienced till now. How do you see that the going forward? Because this is the biggest question of today's this conversation, that how we should prepare ourselves for the future. What we should anticipate is going to happen next 5 years, for 10 years.
Let me talk about the individual first. Uh, as far as individuals are concerned, many of us will lose their jobs. And the only answer, and there's no way of stopping it. The only answer to that is that retrain yourself. You have to unlearn and relearn. You have to unlearn the way you do things today, and you have to relearn the way things will be done tomorrow. For example, I mean, there's still many offices where the the officer wants his private secretary to print his email and then he looks at the printed email. That's not going to work. Everybody must be very conversant in the use of smartphones. If you look at even backward countries, nearly everybody is now using smartphones, and that is the future. So the individuals have to unlearn what they already know and relearn new skills. That's one thing. Now this unlearning and relearning cycle has to go very fast. People have to keep unlearning and keep relearning very fast, maybe every year, maybe every 2 years, depending on what technology they're in, what jobs they're in. So that's the first thing for individuals: unlearn and relearn. That's one thing. Second thing is that you should have skills that belong to more than one domain. Having skills in one domain will not work. You must have skills that are in 2 or 3 domains, so that you can combine those domains and create a new service which only you can offer. So that is for individuals. Now, do you want me to continue for enterprises, or you want to have another question for enterprises?
Yes, please. Briefly, if you can tell, because I want to particularly talk about the workplaces in later question, but briefly, if you want to tell that how in few steps they can prepare themselves.
Okay. The enterprises are faced with a big challenge. Many companies are closing down. Many new businesses are opening up. So there are 5 things that every enterprise has to ensure to be successful in the fourth industrial revolution. The first thing is governance.
Hmm.
I'll go into the details later on, but I'll just name those 5 things.
Yeah.
First is good governance. Good governance, even if it is a small company, it has to be implemented and automated. That's the first thing. The second thing is quality. Whatever you offer, whatever products or services you offer should be based on quality or recognized quality that is up to international standards. That's the second thing.
Hmm.
The third thing is agility. Agility means
Right.
that the companies should be able to change their services and products very fast based on the expectations of their stakeholders. So the first is governance,
Right.
the second is quality, the third is agility. The fourth one is vertical integration, which means that the processes in the organization should be documented, should be automated,
Mhm.
and should be integrated within the organization. That's vertical integration. And the last one, the fifth one, is horizontal integration, which means that the processes of the enterprise should be integrated with the processes on the supply chain side, which means
Mhm.
with their supplier and with their suppliers, and on the other side with your customer and your customer's customer. So these are the five essentials for success in the fourth solution. I'll repeat them. Number one, governance. Number two, quality. Number three, agility. Number four, vertical integration. And number five, horizontal integration.
Amazing. And what about this? The word I think so you mentioned about the digital transformation, and this is the word even living here in Dubai. I often listen from different companies and organizations the roles of different people, especially when I work with human resource officers or managers, directors. So the role of HR is also evolving. So can you tell something about this digital transformation in organization and how the role of human resource or the line manager is going to change in next years?
Okay, very important question, because digital transformation is a very misused a word which has been hyped a lot, and most people
Hmm.
don't understand or misuse it. But digital transformation is not the beginning of the story.
Hmm.
If you want to transform your company or your organization or yourself, you have to go through stages, a
Right.
series of stages. The first stage is called digitization.
Hmm.
Digitization. In digitization, you have to ensure that the data that you generate, that the data that you own is computable, which means that
Right.
it is in a form which can be processed by the computer. It may be text, it may be numbers, it may be pictures, it may be sound, it may be whatever, but it should be able to be computed in the computer. So that is
Yeah.
digitization. Digitization has got many degrees, and the degree to which you digitize depends on what you want to do with that data, and it may be
Hmm.
costly. So, uh, now there are a lot of stages in digitization. The first stage is that you have to make a value chain of your organization. But what is the value chain of the organization? In that value chain, you have to discover 2 things. You have to discover, number one, what processes you have, and number two, what data is being generated. And then you decide for each data, do you want to digitize it, and to what degree do you want to digitize it? So this is what
Hmm.
is the first step, and this is digitization. After you've done digitization to whatever required degree, you are able to use the data in your computers. Okay, that's the first step.
True.
Having done digitization, then you can do digitalization. So difference between digitization and digitalization. Digitalization is the use of that data in computer applications. For example, you've put up a thumb scanner at the door of your company, and you're able to get the input that when did somebody come to the office, or when did somebody leave to the office, using the eye scan, the retina scan,
Hmm.
or the thumb scan. So that data comes in, and it can be computed that yes, this is the right person, and that data can be used in your payroll or in your attendance application. So this is digitalization of the attendance data, or you can use it for the payroll, or you can use it for employee assessment. So these are different applications. So this is digitalization, and this is possible only when you've done digitization to the proper degree. So this is digitalization. Now this is not enough,
Right.
because you've after digitalization, you've got so many applications running in silos, which is not good enough. You have to start integrating those applications to create systems. And these systems, when you create these systems, that is what is called digital transformation. Let me say that again. First you digitize, then digitalize, and then create the applications and integrate the applications to some degree to create, let's say, an HR system, to create management systems, to create automated management systems. So you've got a human resource management system, you've got a procurement management system, you've got a financial management system, you've got a manufacturing management system. So you've got 10 or 8 or 12 or 15 management systems, and this is what is digitalization. Now, even this is not enough. So there has to be a fourth degree of transformation, and there's no term for it. So I invented one term, and the term is digiformation, DIGI formation. It is my own term.
Right.
It means the transformation for success in the fourth industrial revolution. In digiformation, you integrate those applications together in what we call vertical integration and horizontal integration. So this is how you transform. So the four levels of the four steps of transformation are: number one, digitization, then digitalization, then digital transformation, and then digiformation. So this is how you transform a company to make it ready for the fourth industrial revolution.
Right. Right. That's amazing discussion, and I think so. People who are viewers, are watching, they're also enjoying this session. How this is going to impact overall demographics or economies across the world? Because I'm seeing that still in 2020, a lot of part of the world still they are not that much familiar even with internet, or they're not having even internet access. And we are talking about artificial intelligence. We are talking about fourth industrial revolution. So how this is going to impact those countries which are already developed countries, and in the same time, if you can give a little bit understanding for those developing countries, what they should do.
So first thing, internet is a must. Nothing can be done without internet. Without internet, the country, the people, the individual will be left behind. So internet is very important, and of course, internet with a proper speed and with proper availability. That's very important. Second, understanding of how to use the internet, how to use these technologies. So these technologies are becoming very easily available. Nearly every university is teaching these technologies. So that is not the problem. The availability of technology is not the problem. The problem is the proper use of these technologies, and that is the challenge. And that is what the universities are not teaching. That is what the students who come out of the engineering colleges do not know. This is what the finance graduates, what the accounting graduates, which are coming out, don't know. They are taught theoretical subjects. They don't know how to use that theory to transform an industry, how to use it in industry, how to use it in a business. And that is the big challenge. That is what universities should start doing, that start teaching courses which are of practical value, not only theoretical value. So that is the real challenge.
Right. Here is the thing that which you mentioned about students and university, and this is what I wanted to put in my next question, that okay, the governments and the economies and on the large scale, the organizations, they are working something, but we are seeing that a lot of students still studying in universities those subjects which 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people were studying. And once they are coming out from the universities, they are not that much prepared. I was reading one research from the World Economic Forum. By 2025, there will be almost 60% jobs which are today it will be obsolete. And by 2030, there will be 80% jobs at that time available. Still, they are not invented today. So, sir, what do you want to suggest to these students, that what extra they can do? Because of course they cannot now change overall what the university is giving them as a curriculum. Those universities should take serious action also, but what individual in their capacity they can do so that they can prepare themselves for all this revolution.
One thing which they should be doing is that whatever spare time they have, they should be working in some industry, some office, even free of cost. That will give them, number one, exposure to the real life. That will give them an idea of what are the problems in real life, and they'll start thinking of how to apply what they are studying in real life. I've seen students in Pakistan, in UAE, in Europe, who are much better than their colleagues only because during their holidays or during their weekends or online they've done work with companies. So, and on the other hand, the universities should start collaborating with the industries and start having jobs for their students, even unpaid jobs. But at least that will expose the students to the real life and make them understand what the industry wants. But right now, we're not getting a lot of students who are of use to us directly. Yeah.
Right. That's interesting. Another word, which again, sitting here in this market, we often listen. And I would like to hear from you, and so that you can make myself and all the audience understand that what is this word smart cities? And when they talk about the emergence of smart cities, and different organizations, different governments are taking steps. Can you tell us a little bit about smart cities, what it looks like?
Okay, I'll have to retract a bit to take that topic. I worked in nearly every industry.
Right.
And the most backward industry that I've found is civil engineering. Civil engineering probably hasn't changed in the last 100 years. Yes, they make bigger buildings. Yes, they're using modern tools. Yes, they're using computer graphics. But the way the civil engineering projects are managed is still how it was done 70, 80, 100 years ago.
Right.
But 5 years or 7 years ago, a new technology was introduced in England, and that is called Building Information Modeling, BIM. That revolutionized the construction industry. That's a totally new paradigm. The concept in that is that when a project starts, when a project starts from conception to destruction, because a building is being made. So from conception to destruction, everything that happens on the project is documented, not as files, not as text, not as numbers, not as drawings, but as a model, as a consolidated model. So the same software is being used by the different architects. The architect may be responsible for landscaping, or he may be responsible for exterior design, or he may be responsible for interior design, or he may be responsible for whatever. But 8 architects working, all using the same software. 20 engineers working. Somebody is designing the structure, somebody is designing the the electricity, somebody is designing the piping, somebody designing the air conditioning. All of them working on the same model. Then the finance person, how much finance is needed when? How much the accounting person, when are the account receivables and account payables due? All of this is happening on one unified model of that project. This is the concept of BIM. This has revolutionized the construction industry. Because of that, the buildings which are being constructed now in England and some other countries, they are fully documented. When they are handed over to the users, those buildings are fully documented. And that is the first step towards having a smart building. Now, if you have smart buildings, you can have smart localities. If you have smart localities, you can have smart cities. So the concept of smart cities is again a very misused concept, You cannot have a smart city unless you've got smart localities. You cannot have smart localities unless you've got smart buildings. So in no city anywhere in the world you have all smart buildings on a certain road. So this concept is there, but it's very premature. So smart building or smart city is a city in which everything is documented, in which you can simulate the behavior of the city, in which you can predict what's going to happen when something, for example, if there's a big dust storm. For example, they have a big blast somewhere in the city. You can predict what's going to happen to which building. You can simulate that will happen if a pipeline breaks at a certain point. You can simulate if a certain transformer bursts out. So that is a smart city in which everything is documented, and you can simulate, you can predict the behavior of that city. So as for now, it's a very misused concept. Yes, maybe in 30 years we will have some smart city somewhere, but right now it's not even possible. It's just a just a buzzword which is being used.
Right. You had particularly mentioned about the engineering and construction, but the question which I wanted to associate with this thing, that what are the industries or professions which are on risk going forward? Like if you can just list down 5, 6, 7 and tell that how it is going to evolve, like any there particularly professions are going to change?
Everything is going to change. And I recommend everybody to read the two books by Dr. Klaus Schwab. Dr. Klaus Schwab is the president, chairman of World Economic Forum. He's written two books, and both of them are available free of cost on the internet. Read them, and he says that everything will be affected. But the difficult part is that we don't know how things will be affected, and we don't know what can we do to reduce that effect. So there's nothing which will not be affected. Let me give you an example again on the construction industry. Today, if an architect or an engineer is designing a new building, he can just pick up materials from the internet and use those materials with their complete drawings and everything in his design. So what is the effect of that? The effect of that is that people who are manufacturing parts to be used in a building and are not on the internet, their catalogs are not smart enough on the internet. Nobody will use their, for example, somebody is making taps, somebody is making electrical appliances, somebody is making doorknobs. They're very good quality, but they are not available with full data on the internet. The engineer will, or the architect will not use that, and therefore they will not sell. So everybody will be affected. There's nobody who not, even people like laborers, simple laborers will be affected, because a lot of things will be automated. So their jobs will become a lot different from what they've been doing for the last 20 years. So there is nobody who will not be affected.
Right.
That's my analysis.
Right. I agree with you. This fourth industrial revolution will, I believe, transform our whole world, and it's going to affect how the way we learn, we work, we move, and we interact with each other. And when there are a lot of blessings going to be with this revolution, I'm sure that there will be some risks also. And here, what I want to talk about is cyber security risk, or particularly if I talk the word ethics, like how it is technology organizations are going to make it sure that everything will be ethical or within the boundaries of ethics.
Okay. Since the fourth industrial revolution requires everything to be digitalized or digitized at least, a lot of data will be available on the internet, and all that data will be susceptible. All of that data will be available to be stolen and to be misused, and that is a big challenge. And that is what is wrongly called cybersecurity. It is called cybersecurity because it's a buzzword, because it sells. But the actual problem is not cybersecurity. The actual problem is information security. Because what we are trying to secure is information, not cyber. So information in whatever form is the asset of the organization. That has to be made secure. That data, that information can be available on cyber, or it may not be available on cyber. So, that is probably the biggest challenge, that how to make your data secure and still make it available on the internet. And this is a very big industry. There are millions of jobs vacant lying all over the world for in information security area. But this also brings us to the ethical aspect of it, that um, what data can be shared, what data cannot be shared. And this is a very big area of personal data. Banks carry a lot of data. Every company carries a lot of data. Only yesterday, I was looking at a major company in Europe which has been fined so many $1 million because they did not keep the personnel data they had very securely. So, personal data laws are being made. The most famous law is the GDPR in Europe. Every country is having its own personal data law, but implementing that law is very challenging. So ethics is there. Ethics is very important, and it will become more and more difficult to define ethics and to implement ethics and to punish people on ethics.
Right. And how individuals can make it sure that their data, because I believe that going forward, data is called asset, and I'm sure that like we try to save all kind of our assets, whether it's the gold, it's the property, it's the money, or whatever. We like to save our data. We do not want anyone to breach that privacy which we have. But at the same time, as you mentioned, and as we are experiencing, that we are throughout the day, we are connected with this network, with internet, through our mobile phone, computer, and all those things. So individuals, especially on the social media, we listen a lot of stories that personal data, personal things are stolen, are misused. So what individuals can do at this moment, particularly while using social media, how they can make their data secure?
Yep. People have to be very careful on the social media. Why do you have to report everything that you do on the social media? I've seen people who report every 2 hours or 3 hours that now I'm doing this, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing. Why do you have to report that? On top of that, people even tag their pictures, tag their friends' pictures, tag their children's pictures. They're making themselves available for sabotage. Why? You have to be very careful. You have to restrict the data that you put on the internet. You have to, and when you make friends on the social media, know the person first, and then make him a friend. Know the person, and then make your data available to him. So being careful is the first rule. Why do you have to put your data? Think 10 times before putting some of your data on the internet. And of course, your mobile phone. Be very careful with the physical protection of your mobile phone. If it is stolen, if it is hijacked, it's gone. All your data is gone. Your bank data is gone. Your personal data is gone. You can be impersonated. People can access your bank accounts. So be very careful with your mobile phone, especially.
Right. Amazing. Before I ask you a couple of questions related to artificial intelligence, I would love to see if any of our audience is having any questions. So please, viewer, whoever is watching this, please let us know related to fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, and if you are having, as Mr. Azhar mentioned about the digitization, and digital transformation. If you are having any question, we'll be more than happy to take your questions. Going forward now, the word which I mentioned about artificial intelligence, another buzzword, and I'm not sure that, and I do not want to talk more because I don't want later I will be misusing this concept about artificial intelligence. Living with you, sir, can you please tell us about artificial intelligence, what exactly it is, and what is its impact? Is it a threat? Is it a blessing? And how we should react to it?
Okay. Well, let's say what is intelligence first. Intelligence is being able uh, uh, to to, uh, to understand something, create data out of that understanding, store that data, and use that data later on to make decisions. This is intelligence. Artificial intelligence is doing the same thing but using machines. So artificial intelligence has got has got three aspects. Number one, witnessing something happening. So, for example, let's take the simple case of the guard sitting at the door of a building. He's there every day. He just takes down the names of the visitors, and that's it. There is a certain pattern to it. Some people come every day. He doesn't have to take the ID card numbers of people. So he works, he learns the tricks of the trade, and he improves his working. But he's got a certain limited capacity. He cannot find patterns in what is happening. Uh, on the other hand, if you put a machine there, the machine will be able to collect much more data, witness much more things happening, uh, find patterns in much more data, and then take decisions which humans can't. Uh, for example, in just last week, somebody in I don't know where, somebody invented a software in using AI which can hear your cough and tell if you are having coronavirus or not, and it does that with the accuracy of 98.5%, which a doctor cannot. Even a doctor, ENT specialist with 20 years experience will not be able to tell by listening to your cough that you have coronavirus or not. So that is the kind of intelligence that is coming with this software. Now, is it good? Is it bad? That depends on how you use it. For example, a knife. Is a knife good or bad? A knife can be good if you cut a fruit with it, but it is bad if you cut somebody's throat with it. So AI is good or bad depending on its use. But generally speaking, it is a very dangerous tool. It can be used for finding facts which may invade privacy, which may leave people exposed. So it all depends on how you use it. And this cannot be controlled by laws, because you cannot really define what is a good use of AI and what is a bad use of AI. You cannot prevent anybody from using AI. Now, as far as AI is concerned, today it is something very hot. But as we go along, probably the next 3, 4, 5 years, AI tools will become very small commands embedded into our databases and embedded into our spreadsheets. Like, for example, if you look at the Excel, Microsoft Excel of 20 years ago, it did not have many of the smart functions of statistics, for example, that we have today. So the Excel, the Microsoft Excel 5 years from now will have commands which will be based on artificial intelligence. Anybody with little intelligence will be able to use those commands in spreadsheets or in databases. So gradually it will become commonplace, and gradually its use will become commonplace, and it will become even more dangerous.
Great. If you have got a question from Abdul Qayyum Khan, he's asking, I feel that many organizations realize and understand the importance of information security and technology governance, but why they fail to implement in their organizations?
Okay. The first and the foremost reason of this is that there is no support at the top. The board does not want to do it. Even if a CIO or a CEO wants to implement these things, it will not happen unless the board is interested. That's the first reason. The second reason is that they do not use the proper methodology. The proper methodology is that in the first step, you do a survey, you do an audit or an assessment, and look at and discover the maturity of your different processes in your company. But after you get the maturity levels of different things, then you know what is wrong where, and then you take up those weaknesses in the order of priority and implement them. So the first reason is lack of top support from the top. The second reason is lack of a methodology. The third reason is finances. They do not commit finances, or if they commit finances initially, they stop the finances as the project goes along. So these are the three main reasons why it fails to implement.
Great. I hope, Abdul Qayyum, this was the answer of your question. Still, anyone who is having any question related to the topic, please feel free to send us. And it's an amazing opportunity. We are having expert with us who is going to help you by answering all of your questions. So next thing is another word, which is blockchain. Again, there are a lot of things people are talking about that, but I want to listen from you. What is blockchain, and what is its impact? What we should do for that?
Blockchain is a technology that makes secure transactions. So wherever you have transactions, the use of blockchain makes it secure, makes it somebody cannot tamper with them. Uh, it is a very useful technology, especially in applications where the transaction is spread over uh, different entities. For example, the land records. For example, the tax records. For example, any transaction which requires transaction between 2 or 3 entities. So basically, it is a tool which facilitates, which makes secure the transactions. This will help a lot of things. For example, today, when you seek a job, especially in the Middle East, when you seek a job, they want you to get your degree certified, and that is a tedious process. That is a very expensive process. If all universities use blockchain to certify their degrees, it will just be a matter of looking up a degree in a blockchain record. Or, for example,
Exactly.
uh, uh, driving licenses. If the driving licenses are put on a blockchain system, it will be very easy for the police to check if the certain person has a driving license or not. Or the visas. If the visas are issued, why does a visa has to be uh, a paper on a passport? Why can't it be on a blockchain
Hmm.
record? So life will become much easy if as the use of blockchain progresses. Again, blockchain will become a very common thing to use in the next 3, 4, 5 years. It will become a routine thing. Yes, today it's a hype. Today it's something very new. You don't find blockchain experts, but 3, 4, 5 years it will become very, very commonplace, and the hype will go away.
Right. My personal question, so that's about the cryptocurrency. A lot of people are having, personally, if you'll ask that, I'm not having that much trust. Maybe I'm not having that much understanding about the cryptocurrency. I'm afraid to use that. I'm afraid to buy that. So can you please tell us that is this the future, that we will be bound to only use cryptocurrency, or still we will be having plastic money, or we will be having some paper money? So what do you think about this one?
I think yes, cryptocurrency will come in. It will be used to some extent, but I don't think that it will ever replace plastic, or it will ever replace the paper currency. Uh,
Right.
Only because um, the ease of having paper currency, ease of having plastic. That's one thing. The other thing is that it is much too risky, because
Hmm.
when you're using cryptocurrency, you're depending more than 100% on the internet, and internet is not something very. Yes, it is reliable today, but it's not very reliable. It will not be very reliable. If internet goes down, you're
Hmm.
gone. uh, we hear that China is making its own internet. What will happen then? Will this
Hmm.
kind of cryptocurrency work on the American internet, on the Chinese internet? So all of these questions have to be answered before somebody start using the cryptocurrency seriously.
Right. I believe we have some few more questions. Here is, uh, is there any example where blockchain implemented? Again, question from Abdul Qayyum.
Yes, many universities have implemented many land records in the Middle East. I know they have started using blockchain. Um, in Europe, a lot of companies have started using. A lot of universities have started using blockchain for their records. Land records in England probably have been converted to blockchain. So blockchain is not very new. Yes, it is 3, 4 years old,
Hmm.
and using it is not that difficult now because a lot of people are becoming experts on it.
Right. Here is another question from Muhammad Rashid asking, can industry must make social ethics for their industry associates or management? Is it mandatory?
Um, So how do you define ethics? Ethics is a relative term. Ethics in England may be different from ethics in USA, may be different than ethics from Germany or Pakistan or somewhere. Ethics ethics depends on the social environment.
True.
There are no standards for ethics. Yes, there are standards which, for example, there's a standard for bribery. That is part of ethics. There are standards for quality. There are standards for many things. But can you really have a standard for ethics? It's based on culture. So it's probably a bit difficult to have standards for ethics and to implement ethics. Yes, you can have rules of behavior in your company, but is that ethics? I don't know. It's a rather difficult question, actually.
Right. I have got another good question from a good friend, Dr. Shaiful Islam. He's asking, what will be the most important role of human being in the artificial intelligence era?
Well, the first one will be creating AI tools, right? Next one will be using the AI tools, using forming the laws for AI. What data will be collected? How data will be implemented, and how data will be used. Now, the most difficult thing in the AI era will be the discovery of data, number one, the classification of data, the definition of data, the definition of data quality, and the data governance. This is one area where everybody will have trouble. Everybody is assuming that AI will come. Everybody is assuming that big data is there. Everybody is assuming that data analytics. A lot of students are studying data analytics, but they're not realizing that you cannot have all of these things unless you've got quality data. And no university I know of is teaching data governance and data quality. So data quality is the biggest problem that will face in the AI era. Data, if you use AI or big data techniques or data analysis techniques on bad data, you'll get bad results, and that will be very, very disastrous. That can be it'll make the use of AI completely dangerous. Not only dangerous, it will be suicidal. So in my view, the biggest problem, the biggest challenge in the AI era will be quality data. How to define the quality of data, how to maintain the quality of data, and how to govern that data, because the data will become very big and governing it will become a very big challenge.
Right. And sir, going just quickly, if you can add about Internet of Things related to artificial intelligence, AI for industrial IoT, like this concept, if you can, your comments, please.
Yeah, IoT is everywhere now. You can get for 2,000, 3,000, no, sorry, but 200 or 100, even 100 dirhams. You can get bulbs, which you can use in your bedroom, and you can control it from using your telephone. That is the smallest, easiest application of IoT. But the biggest application of IoT today is in the oil companies. It is on their rigs, on their pipelines, in their refineries, it is in the electrical supply companies, companies like Diva, companies like water supply companies. They are using IoT. Now, IoT it's very, very good, but it requires two prerequisites. The first prerequisite is power. That when you install the IoT device, you must have power. And the second precondition is that you must have internet connectivity. If you can make these two things available, then IoT is very useful. Now, the challenge with IoT is that as soon as you connect your pipeline or your refinery or your rig into internet, you make it susceptible to attack. So, and that brings the concept of industrial IoT and the security of IoT. It is a huge area and a very expensive area, and that's an area which causes fights between the operations people and the IT people. So it's a very interesting area, but very careful going into it.
Great. Do you have any final thoughts? Because as we are running out of the time, and I'm sure that there is a lot more to explore, which in this 60-minute session we couldn't do it. But any source which you want to recommend to people to learn more about artificial intelligence and about fourth industrial revolution, or how they can keep themselves upgraded, up to date with this information?
So the first thing that everybody should, the first two books that everybody should read is by Dr. Klaus Schwab. They're available on the internet, and then they will give you the idea about the fourth industrial revolution. Then the prerequisite for fourth industrial revolution is technology governance, not IT governance. Technology governance. You're using 10 technologies in your company. How will you govern those technologies? For that, the only book is this one, which is my book. It's available from Amazon. You just type my name and you can get this book. I'm writing another book which should be available in about 3 months. That is about the use of transformation in the fourth industrial revolution. So also, if you want to know a lot more, then you could go to the website of World Economic Forum. It has got a lot of data where you can see.
Right. Here is Mohammed Rashid's question. What is the role and function of Pakistani university or educational institutions in this artificial intelligence era?
Well, they have a very good role. They are creating engineers and scientists and people who know the technologies that form the basis of the fourth industrial revolution. What they're not doing is how to use these technologies. So having people who know the technology is not enough. You must have people who help you use these technologies, and that is not done in engineering colleges. That is done in management schools. So on one hand, where the engineering schools are creating engineers who know these technologies, on the other hand, the business schools and the accounting companies, the accounting societies are not creating people who can use these technologies. So that is the challenge which they must know and which they must face.
Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching throughout this session. And I'm super excited. I'm very much delighted to go on this exploratory venture where we have understood a lot of things about artificial intelligence and fourth industrial revolution. And Mr. Azhar, he was amazing, phenomenal. And he, I think so, touched every piece of this thing which we should understand. I'm sure that there is a lot more, as he mentioned, about 2 books from World Economic Forum, sir. What did you say? What's the name of the writer, please?
World Economic Forum.
Right, right. And plus his own book, which he has shown. Just if you can Google it, you can find it on Amazon. Go through that, and we will try to bring him again in the future, and with some new things to talk on the same topic, because definitely in 60 minutes we couldn't cover everything. Thank you so much once again, Sir Azhar Zia-ur-Rehman. I'm very much thankful to you for your time and for your contribution by giving all this information to my audience.
Thank you very much. My honor, my pleasure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, that I believe that the fourth industrial revolution will be significant in human story. We should be ready for that. None of us will be able to sit on the sideline and watch that, okay, this will come and this will pass, because we all have to go through it. We have to be prepared for this. The world is about to change into something unrecognizable, and we are all going to be part of it. So we have to prepare ourselves for this. Thank you. Keep watching. A lot of more interesting content will be coming up on my channel, and you can explore internet to learn more about fourth industrial revolution. I would like to ask, thank you for watching. If you have any feedback, any questions, you can later send us also, and we will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you for watching, and goodbye from my side. Thank you very much, sir.